All right, we're in a little different venue for our work session this evening, but we'll get started if everyone wants to pull up or open up your document for the work session for the July 9th board meeting. We'll start out our session today with a presentation from Mr. David Johnson and Mr. Paul LaRue, who are going to share with us a little bit of information about the release time, how that works, and their request for what they'll be wanting to pursue this fall with our elementary schools, I believe. Gentlemen, if you all like to come up to the podium, and there's William, is the microphone on? Will they have? Yeah.
Okay, I'm the spokesperson. Paul LaRue is with me tonight. We're from Camp Tapawingo. Anybody ever heard of Camp Tapawingo before? We're excited to be here. I'm the director there. Paul's one of our program directors, and we have a guest with us tonight from North Carolina, actually. She's here just to kind of learn herself what we do. I got something I'm going to pass out real quick here. It's just something for you to look at while we're talking. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Bible release time. This is a program that we would like to offer this fall to some of your elementary schools. We would not start with all in at once. We could start and add on as we go. But it's an opportunity for children in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade to learn about the Bible. It actually happens during school. What makes it legal is it's not on school property, and that's why we call it release time. Children are excused from not a tested subject. They're excused from, I guess you call them specials. So they're getting out of library or computer lab or PE. It's a once a month program that we do. And we have been doing release time at Camp Tapawingo in a number of counties for many years. Johnson County would be the one that we've been in the longest. I think we started in Johnson County around 1990. And over the years, we've had other counties. Currently, Camp Tapawingo is ministering through release time in Carter County, Bristol City Schools, Elizabethton City Schools, Johnson County, and Greene County. And altogether, we are seeing about 2,000 children, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders every month. Our program starts in September and runs through March each year. Of course, for children to be able to attend, they have to get signed permission from home. And so what I gave you there, first of all, I gave you the top 2 pages are Tennessee Code related to release time, religious education. And Tennessee has a very friendly law that was passed in 2020, which basically takes you as a school board away from the concern of legal issues by allowing a religious organization to do something with your students. In fact, Tennessee law now says that the parents have the choice whether or not they want their children to attend something like this. And what your policy that you would come up with would be just how we could implement that for your students. We have great participation in this. We have a 3-year rotating curriculum. We go through some of the very familiar Bible stories a lot of us would be familiar with, and children just have a great time coming. We just started Carter County in all the schools last year, and I can't even tell you the number of times that a school administrator, teacher, principal, parent has come to me and said, "We are so glad you're doing this for our kids." So we just have a very good working relationship with all the school systems that we are in. What we do is we provide the permission form that you see there that has "Hey Kids" on it. And I went ahead and this is the exact form that we use in Carter County. So I just put Sullivan County so you can kind of see what we would make available to your schools. And then the second one, I kind of plagiarized a little bit. I went ahead and put a Sullivan County on the top there just to show you this is actually pretty much Carter County's form that they use. And that's a form that the parent is signing as well to release you from any liability at all for the program. All the liability is on us. We carry full coverage on our programs. We have our own buses that we use to transport the kids to the school, to the church. I have a question. Is your specials block time, is it 45 minutes or 1 hour in Sullivan County?
They're closer to that first 45 to 50 minutes.
Okay, all right. I know in Bristol City, Paul has an hour, Carter County have 45 minutes. So what we do is we have our bus at the school door. We prearrange with the school in advance the day we'll be there. And usually we have to take one grade at a time because their specials are at different times. So we'll do 3 classes at a school one morning or afternoon, and the principal decides when that should be. And if it's 45-minute block of time, they're back walking in the door in 45 minutes. So it's seamless, it's smooth, we do it over and over, and we just, schools just are happy to work with us on it. So what we would propose, if we can start this fall, there's 3 schools that we would target at first, just to do release time, would be Bluff City, Mary Hughes, and Emmett. And I think Paul's already had contact. He will be the teacher. I think he's already had contact with those schools and also churches that are nearby. And so that's kind of where we would start. It's interesting, the Tennessee law that was passed in 2020 actually allows for release time right through high school with high school credit. We're just focusing on elementary for this year, maybe middle school in the future. And also, they approved, the law approves daily release time. In other words, we could do it every day. We don't even do it weekly. Some programs are weekly, we just do it monthly. And that gives us an opportunity to go to more schools with our limited staff that we have at the camp. So I guess that's pretty much what I would like to share. I'm sure there's some questions. I'd be happy to take those if anybody has any questions about the program. And Emmett?
And where will you be taking them? What where will they?
The churches. Paul, what churches would there be for each school?
Mary Hughes would be going to River Blight down the road, Emmett, River Bend, and Bluff City First Baptist.
We always pick the closest place possible because that's transportation time takes away from teaching time. So we try to find a place really close. There are some schools, I don't know if there are any, I haven't done the research to know if there are any Sullivan County schools that are actually across the street from a church, but Elizabethan, for instance, all 3 of the schools in Elizabethan are right next to a church, so we just walk the kids. So we only use the bus, if we need to go a distance. So. Eventually, yes. Yeah, I think you have 10 schools, 10 elementary schools in your school district, yeah. And so we would offer that, probably not this year, but that would be our goal down the road as we can expand. Yeah, good question. Well, anytime we have a class, we always have a second adult with us, and sometimes 2 or more. Everybody's background checked, and so we all together, as far as staff at our camp that teach, I think we have 5 on staff that teach between Carter County, Elizabethan, Bristol, the other school districts that we're in.
Make sure you turn your microphone on the video broadcast. They said they couldn't hear.
Another question that I may have, do you all turn your background checks in to the superintendent?
We are happy to do that. Some school districts ask for those, and so we're happy to do that, yeah.
Okay.
And I think we use the same, off the top of my head, I don't know who we use for our background checks, but I think it's the same one that you at least some school districts use, so, for the background checks that we do.
Okay. Thank you.
This will require a policy, right? I know the law's there, but would that require a school board policy?
I suppose we would need to create.
I think the way I read the statute, there's two options. I mean, if we wanted to do it regularly and almost invite it, we need a policy. But I think under subsection H, that if a student's parent or legal guardian requested it, that they're allowed to do that even without a policy.
Okay.
The way I read that statute. Just a little clarification on the forms. The form, of course, is two-part that I gave to you. The front part is ours, and in other words, we will make these available to schools, and the normal procedure is for the schools will distribute, just like they would for a field trip, to each class, and then the teachers just make them available for the students in those classes. And that when they come back to the school, the first time we come for a class, which would be in September, they would give those to us. We would take the top page, which it says, "Hey Kids" on it, and then the school keeps the one that has your logo on, and that's your release. And let me add this. This is, like I said, it's very similar to Carter County's, the one that has your logo on, and but you can take that and make it yours. I'll be glad to send a Word document to anybody that would like to take it and do some edits and make some changes or whatever. But and Elizabeth and City is pretty much the same. I think they looked at each other and talked to their lawyers, and they felt like this covered all the bases for them. So just thought I'd give you kind of a starting point if you wanted to have something to look at to get started with.
So you say it's once a month, start with?
Once a month.
And is it gonna be the same, like the third Thursday or every month, or is it gonna vary and you just give notice? How does that work?
Normally, we set it up as like second Wednesday, third Thursday, like what you're saying. What we like to do is, like in Carter County, I'll print out the school calendar for the year on a hard copy, and I'll go and highlight third Thursdays through the whole year for a particular school. If they say that's a good day of the week for them, I find out what day works best, and then I'll put those in. Then we'll have a meeting with the principal, and we'll look at those together and say, will all these dates work? And sometimes you got a snow day. Sometimes there's a field trip that they weren't aware of or something else that comes up, and we're always able just to adjust our schedule.
That was gonna be my next question. What do you typically do during testing periods?
Well, we end in March, so I'm thinking your TCAPs are in April like they are in Carter County. So, but if there's some other testing going on, yeah, we just work with it. We like not to miss a month, so there's flexibility in the schedule if it needs to be. So.
I don't think there's a big change, but there is a newer version of this statute, just so you know, too. That was effective July 1st of 2023. That adds a little bit to the one here, but I don't think it changes any of what you're saying. I was just going to let you know.
Yeah.
And there's proposed legislation, but, yeah.
I did speak with the board's attorney, Chris McCarty, on this. He read through, and he was, he didn't find any problems with it. I think, you know, the one area that we really got to make sure that we're clear on is we have students who parents bring their child to school in the morning, and they drop them off to us. Well, when the release time comes, they're actually being checked out of school. So they're no longer in school during that 30, 45 minutes or so. And so I still feel responsible for those students. So, you know, unless the parent comes to pick them up, I feel responsible. It'd be just like going on a field trip or anything. But when they are signed out for this, they're not with us. And so if they come back late, then they're tardy. Just like if their parents were to pick them up, bring them in late to school or something like that. So we just got to really communicate a strong message to our parents about what's actually happening. These are not our bus drivers, as you've shared. These are not our teachers. It's not our faculty. It's not our staff. And because we don't want any confusion there that parents don't understand, they're actually allowing their students to be checked out and taken off campus and then brought back. So I think that'll be communication that we'll have to really make sure is very clear.
In the form, the green form, the Hey Kids form, down below, there's kind of a description there for the parents to read, and we did our best to make them aware, you know, how that works. So I know you don't have time to read it right now, but if you read through that, you'll see that we try to answer all the questions in advance they might have on that, so.
Excuse me. If, let's say, a board member wanted to sit in and hear a lesson, is that okay?
Love to have you. Love to have you.
I'm assuming during the winter months, with inclement weather on the horizon, that the morning that there possibly may be inclement weather coming in, that there would be communication between Tapawingo and the principal as to whether or not, because we obviously wouldn't want students out of the building, schools closed, and you're 2 miles down the road at a church.
Yeah.
So there would be good communication, I assume, in that aspect.
Yeah, and most of the time, even a 2-hour delay changes the schedule for the school that day. So we don't normally even try to come that day unless they say, come later, we can still make it work. Usually we just say, we'll make another day for you, so.
Any other questions?
I got a question.
Yes.
Is there a list of release time courses? Because this bill says, requires a public school to excuse a student from school to attend a release time course if requested by a student's parent or legal guardian.
Currently, I don't think we have any that are taking advantage of that opportunity. So, no.
I'm not sure what you're asking. You're asking again.
Is there a list of courses?
Well, it says that it requires a public school to excuse a student from school to attend a release time course if requested by the student's parents or legal guardians. What is the definition of a release time course?
In other words, is there a curriculum or?
Is that
Have
a
you-
question about curriculum?
Well,
It's interesting they use that term, course, because, you know, we use program classes, but we do have a curriculum that we use. We typically use a PowerPoint. We show pictures on the screen while we're telling a Bible story, so they have something to look at. And over the course of 3 years, we go through much of the Bible, and so.
if I'm correct, Ms. Stanley, are you referring to G on page 2? A local board of education may adopt a policy.
Well, the Tennessee Code on A, on page 1. And if you go to the online, it was the one online that I was reading.
They updated, that's part of the update, I think. You talking about G1?
G1.
That was the part of the update in 2023.
Oh, so they saw that too. That's what you were asking about. This is not the updated one. I didn't know there was an updated one. I would have gotten that, so.
It allows for 1 unit of credit instead of half now in the update version.
So they do get a credit for it?
Yeah, it's still a may.
May.
It's if they adopt a policy that's substantiated by a transcript from the entity that provided the release time course. If we do adopt a policy under subsection G, then a student may be awarded a whole unit of elective credit versus a half a unit in this version that we have.
For high school.
Okay, thank you.
It actually doesn't specify, but.
And CBM, Children's Bible Ministries, which is our parent organization, we do release time in a number of states, and we all just have our own curriculum. So we're kind of independent that way. We come up with what we would like to use. And there's other organizations besides CBM that do release time. It was interesting, I saw on Fox News one Saturday morning, there was I think he's an Ohio State football player, decided he wanted to start release time in his community because he grew up in one. And he just started this maybe 3 years ago, and there are like 200 schools in Ohio that are doing release time through this. It's called LifeWise. So we're Children's Bible Ministry, CBM, they're LifeWise. There's other organizations, and even local churches that could just do that for their one school, of course, going through the school board first, but so there's a number of providers.
Any other conversation or questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Next on our agenda, with facilities projects, two items. And we'll go with the one listed here first on the paving projects for Holston Elementary and Indian Springs. When we last discussed this, we had given the go-ahead to get an estimated price to do those two projects. And the goal was to do those out of ESSER 3 as projects that we have paving listed in ESSER 3. And so we wanted to make sure we could exhaust all the funds, contingencies, any deducts or anything that might be left here at the end by using those on a paving project. And September 30th, everything has to be encumbered by then. December 15th has to be finished, paid out, except they are giving us an opportunity to ask for an extension on any something that's already in place that maybe got extended past the deadline. So now we're at a point where Holston Elementary is estimated, this is not a final, but estimated at $140,000. We have Indian Springs that was estimated at $105,000. And as most of our projects have all done, they've came in higher when we've got the actual bids in. So what I've done, the purchasing department has provided the contingencies that are out there, remaining contingencies, and you see those in the bold print on here. The West Ridge Multipurpose Room at $36,917.80. That was a deduct on that. So that's money that's actually going back in, not contingency money. That's just, it didn't end up costing as much. So that money will be there soon because that project's getting ready to close out. The boiler at Miller Perry, or Mary Hughes, $5,920 is contingency money. Right below that, and this is an approximate, this isn't an exact number, but there was a deduct due to the fact that the roof did not have to be removed to place the boiler at Mary Hughes. So there's approximately $50,000 there that's deducted from the original price. At Indian Springs, and this one is the most substantial, it's a contingency of $95,772.58. And you see there, the project's still in progress, but I just spoke to Mr. Burchett, and his, the latest estimate he's got is that one's gonna be closing out in August, correct, Bill? All right, so that one's gonna finish out, and that money, after everything's paid out, that contingency will go back into the pot, basically. Sullivan Heights Track, $10,932. Central Heights Elementary School, that paving project is going on, should be finishing up by the end of July. $5,790 is the contingency there. And then the Rock Springs HVAC is going to be closing out in July, end of this month. $9,506.15 is the contingency there. So all total contingency-wise and deducts, That's approximately $214,838.58, which is not an exact number. And then I'd written down there, ESSER three, with ESSER three, there was a requirement that we spend 20% for learning loss. And I was talking with Ms. Buckles this morning, and she feels a little unsure of what we have put out for that 20%, and would actually like to spend over a little bit just to make sure, it's a requirement. If we don't spend it, then are we gonna get penalized? Are we gonna get some kind of fine or something like that? So I think she would prefer to spend a little bit more out of that 214 estimated, another 10,000 or so.
And just so that I know that we've covered the 20% and you don't bring something with you.
Right. So that would actually go down a little bit more, another 10,000 or so off of that. And keeping in mind, these are estimates. These are things that could still have contingency taken away from them because they run into a problem or something. So the 200,000 or approximately 200,000, if we were to go ahead and move forward, I think we decided Holston would be the direction we would go first. That's at least 140, when we get the actual bids in, it may be a little bit higher. And that would leave Indian Springs at 105, and a decision to make about what we're going to move forward with on doing that project. We at one point had set aside out of the undesignated fund balance $250,000 just in case we went over the contingency amounts or there weren't as much left over, that we would have that to finish out any project so we could exhaust ESSER three completely. We didn't want to have anything left. The issue here is if we say we're going to do both of these projects and then we don't finish out or the contingencies aren't there, we're either going to be paying it out of that 250,000 fund balance that was just set aside, or we could, and then not get it back. We might pay it out of it, and then there not be any contingencies there to cover it. Another possibility is the paving projects finish, we have to pay it because they're wanting to get paid. And then I've just asked Kirsten if she would talk to Mr. Bailey and see, can we reimburse ourselves from the ESSER funds? And that's not clear yet. So in other words, the paving project gets finished, they want to be paid. We haven't got all these contingencies finalized and the deducts. I don't know if we can pay ourselves back out of that ESSER money or not. You think it would have to go the other way? To where it was coming out of. So in other words, if we go over and we're paying out of our undesignated, we would lose, we would just be out that. Right. So we have, if these projects finish on time, and they don't go past when the paving project at Holston needs to be paid, then we're good. But based on that information, if we end up having to pay it out of this 250, we could potentially not get it back.
So that would mean out of the 214.
That we could still lose
Okay.
some of that 214,000 because we can't start a new project after September 30th.
So there's just no way to control that.
Angie? Because of the time.
But
Right.
if we go ahead and bid out the paving projects and they come in at the estimated price here of $245,000, our contingency will cover that. We've got it set aside. Now, there's 214 left in ESSER money.
Right.
But that's what we want to spend first.
Exactly.
And so whatever's left in ESSER, we'd spend that before we went into the contingency. We don't want to take a chance of losing any ESSER money at all.
Right.
So my recommendation would be that we do both paving projects, because if you look at that, they've done renovation on Indian Springs on the HVAC, and there's potholes on the back drop-off that are dangerous for small kids walking around that building out to the playground. So, and I know Holston's in the same shape in the backside of it, so I think both of them need our attention, and rather than take a chance of losing the ESSER money out of the 214, bid them out, pay all we can out of ESSER, and then pick up the rest of it out of the contingency. So we set it aside knowing we could have to spend some of it.
Right. The only danger there is that these projects don't finish on time. And so we don't have access to the ESSER funds right then to pay for the project. But, Bill, most of these are on time, if not a little bit ahead of schedule. I think it's in our favor that they're going to finish out.
By the time we bid them, we're looking at June the 9th right now. By the time we bid them and they paved them, you're going to be at the end of August. Indian Springs is the big one, and you said another month. By the end of July, Indian Springs should be finished. West Ridge is already finished, right?
Right. They're getting ready to close it out.
Mary Hughes is finished as far as the money there, the $50,000 deduct, or should be.
Central Heights is almost finished.
Right. So as long as Indian Springs finishes by the end of this week, or end of this month, I think we're gonna be in good shape on it.
That needs to be done, yeah.
Yes.
We gotta do it.
Because we'll be in school.
Yeah. Got to say we take a chance. Yeah. I agree with that.
So.
Is the Miller Perry boiler, is that coming out of the ESSER money?
No.
It's not? Okay. Has it been put out to bid yet? Do you know? Okay,
I believe purchasing is working on that. I don't think it's actually out yet.
okay.
But yes. That would require a vote, so we'll need to vote on that this evening then. Okay, another item under facilities or property. One more conversation on the Henry Har Road property. This time we're talking about the house and lot. There is a gentleman who has contacted us. His name is George Roberts, and he's interested in purchasing that property. He had shown interest before, but he's came back and said that if we were willing to, just as we did on the lot, go down to 52,000, that he would be interested in purchasing it at that price. He did ask 2 questions through an email yesterday, and was there any talk of it being in a historical, or because of the age of the house? I didn't think so. He asked that, because his plans would be to tear it down and put something new there. And then he asked that it says, since the property is so overgrown as far as trees, bushes, and even the yard, would the county, and I'm assuming he means the school system, help us by clearing up this overgrowth by mowing the yard and trimming some of those low-hanging trees and bushes and brush that have taken over the garage on the back and both sides. So I don't think that's not a deal breaker that he's not interested. He's just asking if we would do that. I didn't want to give him a yes or no.
I'm going to complicate the issue a little more. This afternoon late, I had another call of interest in purchasing the property, and I told her it's on the agenda for tonight, and it'd be up to the board to make a decision of what we move forward with. She has looked at it before, and her question was, what's going to be built on the lot that we just sold? And I didn't have an answer for that. I don't know, did those builders tell you?
No, and I would only be speculating if I said a house, but I
told her I did not know.
comfortable.
But I told her the real question would be of whether or not we had to rebid, or whether or not we did seal bids, or whether or not we did an online. But and I've talked to Mr. Roberts also when he called this week. So there's two of interest.
And with 2 of interest, it kind of makes the next question a little bit easier. I spoke with Dan Street and asked what the process, since we've did 2 online auctions and 1 sealed bid, what we would need to do. And so when we had one person interested, he indicated that we could accept just a price, just sell it to somebody. With two people being interested, I think that answers the question that not really whether we want to take one price or not. We probably need to go back with either the sealed bid or the online auction.
And I told that individual this afternoon that I would let them know what the decision of the board was, and their interest may not be as sincere as the other one. I don't know, depending on what's going to go on in the other lot.
So probably the most feasible and financially smart move for us would be to do it as a sealed bid. If we put it online, there's going to be a cost associated. If we do it as a sealed bid, it shouldn't be that way. And I've talked with Chris Davis and Michelle in that office, and they said they'd be prepared to put it out as a sealed bid. So any conversation or questions on that, but would require us to vote tonight on what to do.
Now, at one time, the rule was that if we negotiated with an individual, we had to publish that in the newspaper for 30 days to make sure that that was the best price. I don't know if that was, is a requirement or not.
I had mentioned to Chris Davis that we had somebody who was interested, and she didn't indicate that we would have to, she said we would just do the sealed bids, just like we did on the last one there, so, and put it out for a period of time, so. Anyone have an opinion on that, or is putting it out for? Go ahead.
During the break tonight, between the work session and the regular session, one of us can contact the lady who contacted me this afternoon to see if she has a real interest, because he has expressed that in writing. And we'd need to know whether or not she intended to make that bid, and I gave her the same figures that you gave him.
So if she is,
If
got a sincere interest, we would go with the sealed bids. And then if not, make an offer or take the offer. Okay. So we'll know when we get to our full meeting on that. Very good.
Just a question on that. Do we know if the lady, was she interested before and placed the bid? Because I think the Roberts had, correct?
Yeah, he placed a bid of 51 something, I believe is what he told me, and then the other guy outbid him, so he dropped out. Now, this lady has been there to look at it. I don't think she has placed a bid on it, but she has been there to look. And but when I told Mr. Roberts that we had the minimum price of $52,000, he said, "I'm interested at $52,000," and we'd give $52,000. Because originally we had $75,000 on that, but he expressed an interest, and I called Mr. Carter and went from there with it. And then the other lady called me this afternoon, and I've talked with her several times, but she's never put a bid in on it. But for us to seriously consider hers, I think we'd have to have some type, either an email with a bid on it or something.
Or we'll come back during the regular meeting with some more information and potentially go to a vote on next steps for that on the Henry Hart Road property. While we're talking facilities and projects, I know that we got a video. Mr. Roby Witcher, assistant principal at Westridge, had gone down on one of the side-by-sides and did a little video of the Westridge Road progress. And I know that we had been the board been given an opportunity to go down there and do a tour, but it's definitely coming along a lot from when we did that. So I think we're in good shape and moving along nicely on that project. So be anxious to get that going as soon as we can after the school year begins, it looks like, but not too far into it, so it's going on well. Next on the work session agenda is to review our agenda for tonight. And then underneath that is that policy 1.501 visitor school. So we'll talk about that one as we're going through the regular agenda. Looking at the regular agenda, we do have under consent agenda tonight, letter 3B is the SRO MOU. There are two MOUs with the Sheriff's Department. The first one, the one that we're presenting tonight to accept, is the state-required MOU that basically allows the state to provide the money to the sheriff's department to pay for the SROs in our schools. That one, there's no verbiage can be changed for the state to accept it. It's just a very standard on they're going to provide the SROs and they're going to pay that kind of arrangement. There's a second MOU that's strictly between Sullivan County Schools and the Sheriff's Department about the whole process of the partnership between our two entities. I would like to make a recommendation that for that second, the first one that we approve tonight when we get to a regular agenda, but the second one, I think if you'll give me permission, I'd like to set up a safety meeting and put that other MOU and maybe some other safety items on that agenda and do it as a safety meeting within the next month or so, if that's okay with everybody, to move forward with setting up a safety meeting. Any questions or comments there? Good. Copier agreement for Westridge is under the consent as well, and the field trip request. Down below in communications of the board, we do have a national champion who's going to be joining us tonight. Sullivan East High School graduate James Shirk is a national champion in 5-axis machining. And I think he's going to actually bring what won him the national championship, but golly, just sitting and talking to him for about 2 or 3 minutes, it's over my head. It doesn't take long, and he just really an impressive young man. We thought he was going to be going to the national or the world championships in France, but they choose the events that are going to go a year in advance. Miss Magic, that's correct, right? And that was not one of the ones that the United States is participating in, I guess, or Tennessee. It was the United States, wasn't it? Yeah. So he will not be participating in the world championships. That's very disappointing, but definitely out of our control. We've talked about the paving projects in the Henry Hardy Road there. So under new business, and we will be asking for waiver rules and to adopt these on first reading. These are the different policies and the recommendations from TSBA for updates. And there's several of those, but there was a PowerPoint that was provided to everybody. And then if there are any in particular that we need to discuss, which the first one is that 1.501 visitors to schools and a code of conduct. The new public chapter there, 810, requires boards to adopt a code of conduct for each school in the district. This code must be placed where visitors can see it and must also contain the name and the Board of Professional Responsibility number of the attorney who reviewed it. And then it's just a recommendation from TSBA that we work very closely with our board attorney in developing that code of conduct. I'll share a copy of what Chris McCarty has provided to us, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Oh, is it, you got it? Okay. This is a hard copy, and we'll have to make a decision about how to post these because they're outside of football stadiums, baseball, all facilities need to have this code of conduct. And so, to make sure that it's not something that gets frayed after the first time the weather's bad or something just laminated probably wouldn't work. We may need to go with some type of metal sign or something like that. But this is what Chris suggests that we use. Mr. McCarty came up with this. And it's just very inclusive of the conduct that, and making it general enough so that it's not, 50 items instead of 15, but that's what we'll propose if any conversation or discussion about any of those items on there.
about number 6? What about number 6?
Audio or video record where there is an expectation of privacy. So, in other words, yeah, they're not gonna come, a visitor's not gonna show up in a classroom filming it without consent of the school, or locker rooms or anything like that.
Well, locker rooms I see, but
Yeah.
the classroom, pardon me? Yeah, what about ball games and?
I think that's probably,
Yeah, I don't think there'd be an expectation of any
Right.
privacy at a public sporting
Right.
event.
I think, in classroom instruction, I don't know if we want just somebody just saying, hey, I'm coming to your class, I'm gonna film it today. And I think that's probably what but that's the school's, that's our decision if we want to stay with that one.
And I'm sure Chris knows it, but I think if this is actually what we're voting on and he reviewed it, we would need to add his name and his BPR number. Per that statute, it says whatever lawyer reviewed it
With his
has to have
professional
their name and their professional license number.
Any other? Okay. Anyone else? Or any? All right. With the remaining policies, we can go through those, or are there any in particular that you had any questions? Yes, Chairman Price is correct. These were just the recommendations of TSBA, and they were just taken from what they shared with us.
Mr. Carter, if I could go back to the visitor code of conduct,
Yes, ma'am?
I do think that we need to look at the signage that we currently have at high schools, because a lot of that's repetitious now with this. So rather than parent or visitors having to read 5 signs, I think there might be some that can be taken down when this goes up. So I just think that needs to be something that's considered.
And where are they gonna be posted?
Yeah, any entry to the main entry to the school, any fields or auxiliary buildings that spectators or visitors would be visiting. So it is, it's a lot of signs.
Does maintenance still make signs like they did?
We were talking about that earlier today. I'm not,
Don't our schools do well at that?
we potentially have a graphic.
You know? I've seen some work they turn out there. I think this would be a good project for. Yeah, I agree. Some of our students.
Good deal.
They could read them while they were working on them.
Would everybody be okay with that? I know what Dr. Rouse is saying, for example, smoking, no smoking on school property. That's going to be included in this. Is that going to be sufficient that we have it in this sign? Because I think to make this appropriate, so it's not so overwhelming, but the size of it, it won't be as, you won't be as visual to see a sign that says no smoking on campus as opposed to, number 12, and the text might be a lot smaller. But I agree with you.
Probably a question that principals need to
Right, do they prefer to? As principals. Any of the other policies?
Policy 4600, grading policy.
Go ahead.
On the, and I'm sure this is a typo with the bullet point here, not a typo, but it needs a space or something. Local and statewide dual credit capstone industry certifications aligned, add 4 percentage points. And then it says bullet point, advanced placement, Cambridge International College Level Exam and International Baccalaureate and dual enrollment. And there's a bullet, but I think it means add 5 points, or, is that right?
I think that's correct, isn't it? It is. And it was a typo, it was a late addition in that one.
I think Christie's actually already corrected that, we saw that.
Okay.
If there are no other questions on the policies?
I don't know if it's a question on the policy, but I did notice, I'm not looking right at the policy, I'm looking more at the overview that we got with it, about how they changed the bidding thresholds and made that more uniform. And I haven't looked at what we did on that, but given the Financial Management Act, I mean, that could be beneficial to communicate with the finance department, because it removed the 10,000 threshold and made it more 25 or 50,000, and then exempted bulk fuel purchases. I don't know what would be applicable, but given how we're kind of segregated,
Make sure we communicate
I
that.
didn't. Do we have a revision that relates to that? I'm looking at the overall packet from like the new laws.
The policy, the way that,
Okay. Good deal.
okay. And I'll make sure that we've communicated that.
Yeah, I
with
just
the
thought that's worth
financial-
highlighting, so that way everybody's on the same page.
Good point. All right. Thank you. Beyond that, we have the two school nutrition agreements. And those are just annual agreements. Anything you want?
Annual program agreements that detail my responsibilities in administering the school lunch, school breakfast, after-school snacks, summer feeding. And then it also details the pre-introduced policy and my responsibilities in administering pre-introduced price schedules. And the very last page of that is the local funds compliance plan. That's just saying that when available, if we can, we'll procure local products.
Questions, Ms. Anderson? Thank you, Amber. And then budget amendments, we have the acceptance of the Perkins FY '25 and the Perkins Reserve FY '25 grant. Those are both federal that Ms. Madge has been working on. So we'll just be asking for approval of those. And then the summer camp 24-25 budget, a resolution will be required for that one. Ms. Buckles, anything on that you want to say?
That was a cleanup.
That'd be all I have. Mr. Price or anyone else?
The vocational building at West Ridge, I know it's coming along very well. Looks like the outside's pretty close to being finished. Do we have a contingency in that bid, or do you recall?
Well, no, that one is being built out of the ISM.
Right. But we had
Miss
to put,
Madge,
we had to
you-
put some local money into it because of the.
We did.
Right, I can't remember. if
You
I was-
remember contingency on that West Ridge Construction Lab? I think that's something we'll need to check on.
I'm just looking for some extra money, so.
That's good. We'll confirm that. Chairman Price, that's all I have this evening. I'll turn it back over to you, or
Right. Take a break till 6:30? You got anything? I think I'll wait till the meeting. All right, done till 6:30?
lady's name, if you want to give her a call and talk with her in a minute, that way you'll have a better feel for her.
that'd be good. I'll just.
Just tell her Randall gave it to you, and I don't know where I met her, but I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know. She may not even be interested in making a bid if she's not. This would make it a lot easier. And I told her I didn't know what other people was gonna do on that other lot, that was close to you.
Yeah, I can't. Well, we pretty much done till 6:30. All right, we're early.